Knowles, you there?
Hey!
This is amazing. Look at this. I cannot believe this. We're bringing you in all the way from down the hall.
That's right.
We actually sent satellites into space to be able to do this. Our personal Daily Wire satellites.
I'm having deja vu all over again.
So this is it. Your show begins on Monday, right?
That's right. Thankfully, not from this dungeon that they put me in right now. There will be a set. It's going to start on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to talk about, or with whom, or for how long, or really even from where. They told me there's a studio. I haven't seen it. But it is going to start on Monday, so
that's exciting. I think. I hope you'll still drop by and visit us from time to time, or else we'll have to get somebody who knows something.
You can. That's right. And you can call my agent. I'm sure. I'm just a little busy these days, but I'm sure we'll figure something out.
well, I'm glad you deserve it. What am I talking about? I'm just lying to the guy's face. So we sent you off on the dangerous mission of watching Game of Thrones.
That's right.
Which I was afraid you would just sit around watching the nude scenes over and over again. You hadn't watched it before. You're not a Game of Thrones watcher.
No, and I wasn't. I was performing the nude scenes. I wasn't watching them.
Yes, we saw that, and some of us are still trying to bleach our eyes after that.
I think a great way to launch my show and to really set it up for success is to come on today and trash talk the most popular television show in the world.
Good thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to work.
I'll say it. I'll admit it. I don't care about Game of Thrones. I haven't watched it since Dumbledore died. I just don't. I really don't care. I don't.
Wait, Dumbledore died? You gave it away.
I know. I gave away season 4. Well, I did, but I did watch it, and I think actually it kind of gives me, not being a big fan of Game of Thrones, I've seen some episodes, I don't really care about it. I do think it gives some perspective when looking at the controversies surrounding Game of Thrones and some of the different media reactions to it and the alleged think pieces. Because there is one criticism, the big criticism of it from both the right and the left, and the Christians and the atheists, is, to quote Covenant Eyes, which is a porn watchdog organization and software, if you're watching Game of Thrones, you're watching pornography. Did you know that?
I did not know that. It makes me feel a little better about the whole thing.
I would have started watching it a lot sooner if I'd known.
Yeah, exactly. No, I actually don't believe that's true. But what's the argument?
So the argument is, Game of Thrones, one of the biggest shows in the world. It's won 38 Emmy Awards. It's won a gazillion awards. And it's mainstreamed everyone watching pornography regularly, and that's the reason it's successful. There are some data to back this up. I took a deep dive into Pornhub Insights, which is apparently a statistic gathering organization.
Which I'm sure is on your most visited sites anyway, right?
That's right. It's my homepage, actually.
Yeah.
So Pornhub analyzed some of the data from different premieres and season finales and just regular episodes throughout the season. And apparently, during episodes of Game of Thrones and on nights that it premieres, traffic to the website is down by over 4%. Throughout the United States.
People turn off Pornhub and start watching Game of Thrones.
And then in the lead up to major events, season finale, season premiere, searches that include the phrase Game of Thrones increased by 370%.
On Pornhub.
That's right, yeah. And apparently the top one, when they search for characters, is Emilia Clarke, which I take a little offense at, having played her role in our recent Daily Wire video. But there are some data. People clearly associate this to some degree with pornography. There are a lot of saucy scenes. I watched a supercut of all of these scintillating scenes from Game of Thrones.
I made that. That was my
yeah, that's right. It was a great piece. I didn't know you could edit so well. But the supercut was like over 10 minutes long, and it was pretty raunchy.
In a way, it's a little bit encouraging, because one of the terrible things about pornography, and we're joking around, but pornography can be addictive and destructive, and it really can. And one of the worst things about it is there are no characters in pornography. You're just looking at shapes. And I think one of the things about Game of Thrones that makes it so sexy is when the women take their clothes off, you know who they are. And
that's right.
And really, I think most men who are not like crazy actually don't want to see women take off their clothes. They want to see a woman, a specific woman, take off their clothes. It's a little bit more humanizing, even though the sex is overdone.
That's a great point. Like when Emilia Clarke plays it, you're not just looking at a piece of meat. You're looking at when I play it, you're looking at a piece of meat.
Well, you are a piece. There's no question.
Totally objectified. That's right. So, another interesting thing that I think defends my not liking Game of Thrones that much is that according to a study done last July by eScore, Democrats tend to love Game of Thrones. They rate it as their favorite show. They're most passionate about it, and Republicans don't. And it's unclear by the numbers. It might just be that Republicans are less passionate about it. Obviously, a lot of Republicans are watching it because there are tens of millions of viewers. But
there is a whole element of feminist fantasy world in the thing. There wasn't at the beginning, but there is now.
I noticed that, no spoilers, but some of the lines from the episodes that I've watched are, you can't, a little girl will say, you can't tell me that I can't fight. I'll go out there and I'll fight just as well as anybody.
Yeah, she was the size of, you could have flicked her away with your finger, basically. Yeah.
That's right.
It's funny. It wasn't like that in the beginning. At the beginning, the women were clever and smart and seductive, and they could maneuver politically with their wits. But then they introduced a lot of characters who can fight like men, which I just kind of tune out because I just don't believe it.
That's right. That's right. And the complaints from both sides, from the left and the right, and the Christians and the atheists, and so on, are the treatment of women. Obviously we see there's a little bit of a feminist injection with women being able to fight physically like men. But here's from the American Thinker, from a conservative outlet. There's absolutely nothing in the show thus far to suggest that the author, or maybe the director, has what would be considered by any well-adjusted person a healthy sexuality. I've seen prostitution, adultery, incest, rape, homosexuality, and except for a couple of rapes, I've never seen any sexual act committed by a husband and wife.
Huh.
A fair enough point.
Yeah.
New York Times, obviously a former newspaper and coming from the other side, from the fake news side of the aisle, says rape is often presented in television plot lines, but critics of Game of Thrones fear that rape has become so pervasive that it is almost a background noise, routine and unshocking. Variety, same headline. Why does Game of Thrones feature so much sexual violence? And a left-wing writer at Huffington Post, and I think this starts to get at the heart of the matter, says, my feminist opinions ruined Game of Thrones for me and my boyfriend. The Guardian hammering in a little bit more on this point.
That ought to be a sign to the boyfriend to take a hike.
Yeah, that's
it's going
right.
to be a long life otherwise.
Yeah, update, my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
But the Guardian hones in, I think, fully on this point. A feminist writer there says, Game of Thrones, too much racism and sexism, so I stopped watching. I don't really know where the racism came in, and she doesn't really describe it, but she says, it is strange to quit a show after putting so much time into it. I also decided to skip the final season of Mad Men, having long ago lost interest in the weekly display of misogyny and ill will that Don Draper visits upon everyone around him. I am, quote, I'm exhausted by the triumph of men at the expense of women as a narrative device.
It's like they do not want to watch the world as it is.
That's exactly it. And they certainly don't want to watch the world without technology, when everyone is at war, because an important point, rape is often in television plot lines, and I don't want to watch men dominate women. Probably best not to watch movies about ancient warfare in fantastical lands.
I once explained this to an executive at Sci-Fi, actually, the Sci-Fi TV channel, and she was complaining about this. And I said, well, they didn't have guns. So when you don't have guns, women can't defend themselves against men. And she said, well, you just don't write it that way. And I said, then it would be a good show, but not a great show, because it would be dishonest, but that didn't register with her. That's because leftists do not want to see the truth. They think that they are transforming the world by lying about it. That's what political correctness is. Basically.
That's right. And it's the same response to both sides, to people who say Game of Thrones is exploitive in its sexuality. Perhaps it is a bit. Perhaps television is a little exploitative. Yeah. But there is a reality that's being presented in this fantastical world, and reality is what makes art worth watching and experiencing.
No question about it. But I think we have a better way to produce to introduce fantasy worlds. I think
we have a much better way. I get to George R.R. Martin says rape and sexual violence have been a part of every war ever fought, from the Sumerians to the present. To omit them would be fundamentally false and dishonest. I agree with that. There is another partially realistic and partially fantastical piece that includes all of these scary and realistic and wonderful things, but it's much, much better than Game of Thrones.
That's absolutely true.
And it's the next book by Andrew Klavan. It's Another Kingdom.
That we are producing as a podcast. You and I together are producing this as a podcast, and we'll be releasing it. I hope in a couple of weeks we'll start to release it, and people will actually get to see this book develop in real time.
It's pretty cool, yeah, because we just recorded the first chapter. What's really cool is that we're releasing it in real time, so I won't be writing anything, because as you saw from my last book, it's not my forte. But you'll be writing, and it'll be very live and very fresh, and it's really good. The first chapter, I really loved it, and And, listen, I'm never going to work in Hollywood again after Reasons to Vote for Democrats. So it's nice to have a job again.
I'm going to create your acting career out of absolute nothing. All right, Knowles, it's great to see you. Good luck with the show. I, of course, won't be listening because I don't care what you have to say, but everybody else should take a listen. I will actually listen to it. I'm sure it'll be great. Good luck.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you.